Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. This is your girl Riza Tante, and I'm an American expat living full-time in Europe and pursuing entrepreneurship. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about if digital nomad is really worth it and what are the pros and cons. So let's get on with the show. Right, so let's talk about digital nomad and what that actually means. So in my own definition, what that means is someone that can create income or has income online, or they're not committed to a location and they're creating income through whether that's a company or their other entrepreneur or business endeavors. So that's digital. The nomad is they don't really have a permanent place. They don't have a certain location. And at first I thought I really wanted that. I was like, I want this digital nomad life and I want to be in other countries and go from one place to another. But here are some, here are some pros and cons about digital nomad in general. In my opinion, this is all my thoughts. So everything that I'm telling you is my perspective in my own lens. So the first thing about digital nomad and the pro about that is that you don't hoard a lot of things. Now, if you have a house back in the US, you probably then store all your things down in the basement, and then that just piles up and collects cobwebs. Or maybe you store it at your family's or a storage unit. And I guess that's a pro, but I kind of see it as more of a con, because then you're just holding on to things that you don't necessarily need. But if you have things that are memorable that you don't want to let go of, then that's fair. But I think the pro of moving to place with place is that you don't hoard a lot of things. You don't keep all this stuff. You don't carry all these unnecessary things, clothes, shoes that you honestly probably only wear once or twice a year. So that's a true benefit and pro of digital nomad, in my opinion. And you learn how to be a minimalist. You learn how to just work with what you have and live out of a backpack. Like, there are so many times where I would just use a 20-liter Osprey backpack and take weeks at a time going somewhere and living off of whatever I had in my backpack. The other pro I believe about digital nomad is that you get to really challenge yourself. You really get to explore different worlds, different cities, how to maneuver and navigate into a different country. And now when I say digital nomad, I'm saying that you literally are traveling outside of your country and going to different places. And I think authentically that is a pro. You get to explore different parts of the world and really understand how they live, how they work, how they move. For example, one thing that I've learned greatly in Europe is that they are so good at living in balance, living in the slowness of life and not feeling guilty about it. I mean, the fact that like sometimes malls are closed here on Sundays in Europe is just baffles me, because in the United States, that's where malls make money, right? It's family day at the mall on Sundays. The other pro I would say about digital nomad is that it really forces you to get out of your comfort zone and meet other people. So I remember when I was at a hostel in the coast of Colombia, and I didn't know anyone, and I just talked to people when they were eating their breakfast or at lunch, or if people were checking into the hostel, and that's how you meet people. They also had like group settings that you could go and attend a mini tour or go to a certain event together, which was pretty cool. But I think the pro about digital nomad the pro about digital nomad is that you challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone, to talk to new people, to meet new people, to inquire of how they are and who they are and why they are out and about like you are. There was a time where, as I mentioned before, I was in Colombia. It was like the North Bay area, or not the North Bay. I think it was in Santa Marta. And I stayed at this beautiful hostel, and they had community dinner, and I met so many people that were staying at this hostel, and just all various walks of life, from quitting their job to living day by day. Others were just very well successful, and they just wanted to take a break and go on an adventure, and which was cool for them. And I that was so amazing to me. Everyone went around and talked about where they're from and their background and why they're there. And I think to me, in this human experience, it allows you to open up and to explore how people are living their lives. And like I said, get out of your comfort zone and not talk about the mundane things that you usually go through in your normal day-to-day life, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of tons about digital nomad, I say. The other pro that I would say, and then this is kind of tied to other ones, is that you get to try different foods. You get to explore different cuisines and how they taste and the different food products that people consume in that country. I think that's a pretty cool experience. It's not very common that people can do that. I mean, it's, wow, like, why not? I think that's a really cool experience, and I think that people don't, again, challenge themselves to try something different. Now, let's talk about some of the cons. The cons, I would say, about digital nomads are one thing that I realized for myself, that I actually wanted to have like a home base. I think there are benefits of living in a backpack, but then it's like, oh, you don't get to store your favorite lotion or your favorite clothes that you like to wear, or it's just having that having that same bed that you can sleep at and not have to worry about people coming in late at night, or if you're staying in a hostel, but even then, like an Airbnb, and not having to worry about like neighbors being disruptive or whatever. Okay, we're back. We're just changing it up because I wanted to sit down. So as I was going with the cons of digital nomad, I think that I actually like having a home base and a home that I can call home and come back after my travels. It can be a little bit exhausting jumping from hostel to hostel or Airbnb. Don't get me wrong. Staying in Airbnbs are fantastic because then you can really see how Airbnb owners design their interior, and you can get ideas from that. But there's just nothing better than being able to sleep in your own bed and, like I said, have your skincare routine and being able to go to the kitchen and you know exactly what is in the fridge. And I think as a digital nomad visa, I keep saying digital nomad visa. When you do digital nomad and you're staying in hostels and stuff, you don't really always get to choose what's in the refrigerator. Now, if you want to be bougie and stay in Airbnbs all the time, you can also do that too. But there's just something rich about being able to come home after your endeavored trip. I think that the other cons of digital nomad is healthcare, meaning if something goes wrong, if you get sick, that's not fun. When you get really sick and you don't know how or where the pharmacy is, or if you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't know where to get certain products to take care of yourself, that really sucks. That's really unfortunate, and it's not fun, especially when you're not around people that you know or family members. That's probably a big con, is like when you get sick on your endeavors or your journey and not being able to know where the pharmacy is and walk to get the products that you need to take care of yourself. That's a huge one. Honestly, there's probably more pros and cons that I'm not thinking of right now, but those are the things that come to my mind in this moment. And those are probably the ones that come to my mind in this initial moment. I'm sure I'll have a section 2 about pros and cons about digital nomad, but that was just my thoughts about it. I wanted to share. If you think there are certain pros and cons about digital nomad, feel free to share in the comments what your thoughts are, things that you learned of being a digital nomad, things that you didn't like about being a digital nomad. Love to hear from you. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Ciao, ciao.